Listen, I've seen people spend hundreds of dollars on raised beds and garden plots, only to watch their fruit trees struggle or outright fail. But what if I told you that some of the most productive fruit trees don't need a backyard at all? In fact, they thrive in spaces so small you could grow them on a balcony. And the best part? One of these trees can produce fruit in less than 6 months. Stick around because number 7 is going to completely change how you think about container gardening. Hey there, garden friends. Welcome back to Earthly Gardening, the channel where we prove you don't need deep pockets or massive yards to grow incredible food. If you're new here, I'm so glad you found us. We're all about practical, budget-friendly gardening that actually works in the real world. And to my returning viewers, thank you for being here. You all make this community what it is. Now, before we dig into these 10 incredible fruit trees, do me a quick favor. If you find even one idea helpful today, hit that like button. It genuinely helps more people discover these tips. And if you haven't subscribed yet, click that subscribe button and turn on notifications. Trust me, you don't want to miss what we've got coming up. All right, let's get into it. So here's the situation. Most people think growing fruit requires land, lots of sunlight, and years of patience. And while traditional orchards do need those things, container fruit trees operate by completely different rules. These trees have been specifically bred or naturally adapted to thrive in confined spaces. Their root systems are efficient, their growth habits are compact, and their fruit production absolutely mind-blowing for their size. Today, we're counting down 10 fruit trees that not only survive in pots but actually flourish. These aren't just novelty plants. We're talking real, delicious, abundant fruit from trees you can move, rearrange, and even bring indoors during harsh weather. Let's start with number 10 and work our way to the absolute champion. Number 10, Kumquat. Okay, let's kick things off with something a little unexpected. The kumquat. Now, I know what you're thinking. Isn't that just a tiny orange? Not quite. Kumquats are their own unique citrus experience. You eat them whole, skin and all, and the combination of sweet peel and tart flesh is genuinely addictive. Here's why kumquats are perfect for pots. They're naturally compact, usually staying under 4 feet tall in containers. They're also incredibly cold-hardy for citrus, tolerating temperatures down to about 20 degrees Fahrenheit. That means more people can grow them than almost any other citrus variety. The Nagami variety is your best bet for containers. It's productive, ornamental with gorgeous white blossoms, and requires minimal pruning. Stick it in a 15-gallon pot with well-draining citrus soil, give it full sun, and water when the top 2 inches of soil feel dry. Here's the insider tip. Kumquats fruit on new growth, so a light pruning after harvest actually encourages more fruit production. And because they're self-pollinating, you don't need multiple trees. 1 tree, 1 balcony, fresh citrus all winter long. Number 9, Calamondin orange. Sticking with citrus for a moment, let's talk about the Calamondin. This Filipino staple is basically the definition of adaptable. Calamondin trees are almost impossible to kill, which makes them perfect for beginners or anyone who's accidentally murdered a houseplant or two. The fruit looks like tiny tangerines, super tart, amazing for cooking, beverages, and marmalades. But here's what makes Calamondin special for small spaces. It's one of the most ornamental fruit trees you can grow. The tree produces fruit and flowers simultaneously, so you'll have white fragrant blooms next to bright orange fruits on the same branch. It's stunning. Calamondins are also extremely forgiving. They tolerate partial shade better than most citrus. They bounce back from underwatering, and they're naturally pest-resistant. For container growing, aim for a 12 to 15-gallon pot, use a quality potting mix, and fertilize monthly during the growing season with a balanced citrus fertilizer. One trick I love. Calamondin juice is incredibly concentrated. Just a few fruits can replace an entire lemon in recipes. So even though the fruits are small, a single tree gives you serious culinary value. Plus, the tree itself stays around 3 to 4 feet tall in a container, making it ideal for patios or even bright indoor spots. Number 8, Dwarf peach. Let's shift gears and talk about stone fruit. Peaches typically need a lot of space, but dwarf varieties have changed everything. Trees like Bonanza or El Dorado produce full-sized, Juicy peaches on trees that max out at 5 to 6 feet tall. Now, peaches do need a little more attention than citrus, but the payoff is incredible. We're talking about biting into a sun-warmed, homegrown peach that's so flavorful, grocery store versions will never compare again. For containers, you'll want at least a 20-gallon pot, and peaches need full sun. I'm talking 6 to 8 hours minimum. They also require winter chill hours, which means they need a certain amount of cold weather to set fruit properly. Bonanza needs around 200 to 300 chill hours, which works for most temperate climates. Here's a pro tip. Peaches are heavy feeders. Start with rich, loamy potting soil and amend it with compost each spring. Fertilize with a fruit tree formula every 4 to 6 weeks during the growing season. And don't skip pruning. Peaches fruit on 1-year-old wood, so annual pruning in late winter keeps your tree productive and manageable. Also, most dwarf peaches are self-fertile, meaning you only need one tree. And because you're growing in a container, you can move the tree into a protected spot if late spring frosts threaten your blossoms. Number 7. Dwarf banana. Alright, here's where things get really fun. Bananas. In a pot. And yes, they absolutely work. Dwarf banana varieties like Dwarf Cavendish or Super Dwarf Cavendish grow between 4 to 6 feet tall and produce real, edible bananas. I'm not talking about ornamental varieties. These are legitimate grocery store quality bananas that you can harvest from your patio. Bananas grow fast, like absurdly fast. In warm climates or with indoor protection, you can see fruit in as little as 9 to 12 months. And the best part? Banana plants are technically giant herbs, not trees, which means their root systems are incredibly pot-friendly. For container success, you'll need a large pot, think 20 to 25 gallons, and bananas love rich, moisture-retentive soil. Mix potting soil with compost and a little coco coir to hold moisture without becoming waterlogged. Bananas are heavy drinkers, especially during hot weather, so consistent watering is key. They also crave humidity and warmth. If you're in a cooler climate, bring your banana plant indoors during winter. Place it near a sunny window, mist the leaves occasionally, and it'll happily wait out the cold months. One insider trick: after your banana plant produces fruit, the main stalk dies back, but it sends up pups or baby plants from the base. Let 1 or 2 pups mature, and you'll have continuous banana production year after year from the same pot. Okay, quick pause. If you're enjoying this list and already planning which tree to grab first, let me know in the comments. What's your top pick so far? Are you team citrus? Or are you ready to grow bananas on your balcony? Drop a comment below. I read every single one. And if you haven't liked this video yet, now's a great time. It costs you nothing but helps this channel reach more budget-conscious gardeners like you. Alright, let's keep rolling. Number 6. Meyer lemon. We can't talk about container fruit trees without mentioning the Meyer lemon. This is the gold standard, the gateway tree that turns casual plant owners into full-blown fruit-growing enthusiasts. Meyer lemons are a hybrid between a true lemon and a mandarin orange, which gives them a slightly sweeter, less acidic flavor. The fruit is incredible for cooking, baking, and drinks. And the tree itself? Absolutely gorgeous. Glossy green leaves, fragrant white flowers, and bright yellow fruit that hangs on the tree for months. Meyer lemons are also remarkably productive in containers. A healthy tree in a 15 to 20 gallon pot can easily produce 30 to 50 lemons per year. That's a serious return on investment. They do best in full sun, but they'll tolerate partial shade better than most citrus. Water deeply but infrequently, letting the top few inches of soil dry out between waterings. And feed your Meyer lemon with a citrus-specific fertilizer every month during the growing season. Here's something most people don't know. Meyer lemons are more cold-sensitive than regular lemons. If temperatures drop below 30 degrees Fahrenheit, bring your tree indoors or into a garage. The good news? They adapt beautifully to indoor life as long as they get bright light, either from a south-facing window or a grow light. One final tip: Meyer lemons are self-pollinating, but indoors, you might need to hand-pollinate by gently brushing the flowers with a small paintbrush. It takes 2 seconds and dramatically increases the fruit set. Number 5. Dwarf pomegranate. Pomegranates are ancient, revered, and absolutely stunning. And dwarf varieties are tailor-made for container life. Varieties like Nana or State Fair stay under 3 feet tall and produce real, edible pomegranates. The fruit is smaller than supermarket versions, but the flavor is concentrated and incredibly sweet. Plus, pomegranate trees have this unique ornamental quality. The leaves are narrow and glossy, the flowers are a vibrant orange-red, and even the fruit has this jewel-like appearance as it ripens. Pomegranates are also ridiculously low maintenance. They're drought-tolerant once established, they handle heat beautifully, and they're naturally pest-resistant. For containers, use a 10 to 15-gallon pot with well-draining soil. Pomegranates hate wet feet, so make sure your pot has excellent drainage. They need full sun to fruit well, but they'll tolerate light shade without too much complaint. Fertilize sparingly. Pomegranates aren't heavy feeders, so a slow-release granular fertilizer in spring is usually enough. Here's a cool trick. Pomegranates are deciduous, meaning they lose their leaves in winter. Don't panic. This is normal. Just reduce watering during dormancy, and your tree will bounce back in spring with fresh growth and new blooms. And if you're growing indoors, dwarf pomegranates can work, but they really prefer outdoor conditions. Consider keeping them outside during the growing season and moving them to a cool garage or basement during winter dormancy. Number 4. Dwarf apple. Apples in pots? Absolutely. And not just any apples. We're talking about full-sized, crisp, flavorful apples from trees that stay under 6 feet tall. Columnar apple varieties like North Pole or Scarlet Sentinel are game changers. These trees grow vertically with minimal branching, which makes them incredibly space-efficient. You can fit multiple columnar apples in a small area, and they look striking lined up along a deck or balcony railing. Apples do have one unique requirement. Most varieties need a pollination partner. That means you'll either need 2 different apple varieties, or you can plant a crabapple nearby for cross-pollination. However, some varieties like Golden Sentinel are self-fertile, so do your research before buying. For containers, aim for 20 to 25-gallon pots. Apples have more extensive root systems than citrus, so size matters. Use a rich, loamy potting mix and amend with compost annually. Apples are also heavy feeders, so fertilize with a balanced fruit tree formula every 4 to 6 weeks during the growing season. Here's the insider secret. Apples need winter chill hours, just like peaches. Most varieties need between 200 and 800 hours below 45 degrees Fahrenheit. If you live in a warm climate, look for low-chill varieties like Anna or Dorset Golden. Pruning is also critical for apples. They fruit on spurs, which are short, stubby branches that produce for several years. Light annual pruning keeps your tree healthy and productive without removing these valuable fruiting structures. Number 3. Fig. Figs are legendary in container gardening circles, and for good reason. They're ridiculously productive, incredibly adaptable, and they produce fruit that's almost impossible to find fresh in stores. Varieties like Petite Negra, Little Ruby, or Chicago Hardy are specifically suited for pots and small spaces. These trees stay compact, rarely exceeding 5 to 6 feet, and they produce 2 crops per year in warm climates. The first crop, called the Breba crop, forms on old wood in early summer. The second, main crop, forms on new growth in late summer and fall. Figs are also shockingly forgiving. They handle pruning well, tolerate inconsistent watering better than most fruit trees, and they're relatively pest-free. For containers, use a 15 to 20-gallon pot with well-draining soil. Figs prefer slightly alkaline conditions, so adding a little lime to your potting mix can help. They thrive in full sun but will tolerate partial shade. Water regularly during the growing season, but cut back during winter dormancy. And here's a pro tip. Figs grown in containers actually fruit more reliably than in-ground trees because root restriction encourages fruiting. Now, figs are deciduous, so they'll drop their leaves in winter. In cold climates, move your potted fig into an unheated garage or basement. They can handle cold dormancy, but the roots are vulnerable to hard freezes in pots. One final trick. Figs don't need pollination. They're parthenocarpic, meaning they set fruit without fertilization. One tree, 0 fuss, maximum reward. Number 2. Dwarf avocado. Avocados in pots? Yes, and it's easier than you think. Varieties like wurts, also called little Cato, are naturally compact and incredibly productive in containers. Wurt's avocados stay around 8 to 10 feet tall with pruning, and they produce creamy, buttery avocados that rival anything you'll find in stores. Avocados need warmth and sun, ideally 6 to 8 hours of direct light daily. They also prefer well-draining soil. Mix standard potting soil with perlite and sand to create a fast-draining medium. Overwatering is the #1 killer of container avocados, so water only when the top few inches of soil are dry. For containers, you'll need a large pot, at least 25 gallons. Avocados have vigorous root systems, and they appreciate the space. They're also moderate feeders, so fertilize monthly with a balanced formula during the growing season. Here's something critical. Most avocados need a pollination partner. They have this weird flowering behavior called protogynous dichogamy, where flowers open as female one day and male the next. Wurts, however, is self-fertile, meaning you only need one tree. Avocados are also sensitive to salt buildup, especially in containers. Flush the soil with fresh water every few months to prevent salt accumulation, which can damage roots and reduce fruit production. And if you're in a cold climate, bring your avocado indoors during winter. It won't fruit indoors, but it'll survive until you can move it back outside in spring. #1, dwarf blueberry. Okay, here's #1. And it might surprise you because technically, blueberries are shrubs, not trees. But they deserve the top spot because they are hands down the easiest, most rewarding, most beginner-friendly fruiting plant you can grow in a container. Varieties like Top Hat, Jelly Bean, or Peach Sorbet stay under 2 to 3 feet tall and produce ridiculous amounts of berries. We're talking pounds of fruit from a single plant. And blueberries in pots have this bonus. They're ornamental in every season. Spring brings clusters of white or pink bell-shaped flowers. Summer gives you plump, juicy berries. Fall delivers fiery red and orange foliage. Even winter has visual interest with red stems. Blueberries need acidic soil, ideally a pH between 4.5 and 5.5. Use an ericaceous potting mix designed for acid-loving plants, or mix peat moss with regular potting soil. This is non-negotiable. Blueberries will not thrive in neutral or alkaline soil. For containers, a 10 to 15-gallon pot works perfectly. Blueberries have shallow, fibrous root systems, so they don't need excessive depth. They do need consistent moisture, though. Water regularly, especially during fruiting, but ensure the pot has good drainage. Blueberries are also self-fertile, but planting 2 different varieties increases yield significantly through cross-pollination. And they're cold-hardy, which means they work in a wide range of climates. Here's the kicker. Blueberries are perennial. One plant, properly cared for, can produce fruit for 20 years or more. That's decades of fresh berries from a single, small space investment. Feed your blueberries with an acid-loving plant fertilizer in early spring and midsummer. Prune lightly in late winter to remove dead or weak wood. And protect your berries from birds with netting, or you'll never taste a single one. So there you have it. 10 fruit trees, well, 9 trees and 1 incredible shrub, that prove you don't need acreage to grow abundant, delicious fruit. Whether you've got a tiny balcony, a small patio, or just a sunny spot by your front door, every single one of these plants can thrive in a container. Here's my challenge for you. Pick one. Just one. Start small, learn as you go, and watch what happens. Growing your own fruit is genuinely life-changing. It saves money, tastes better, and connects you to your food in a way that grocery shopping never will. If you found this video helpful, please hit that like button and subscribe if you haven't already. We've got so much more coming up on earthly gardening, including care guides, troubleshooting tips, and budget-friendly garden projects. And drop a comment below. What tree are you going to try first? Any questions about care or varieties? I love hearing from you all, and I respond to as many comments as possible. Thanks so much for watching. Until next time, keep growing, keep learning, and remember, incredible gardens don't require big budgets. Just a little creativity and a lot of heart. See you in the next one.